What's up, guys? Johnny Connier, aka Not Such a Conqueror. Listen, a lot of, how can I say this? A lot of Mexican American problems are rooted in Spanish Catholicism. That is a colonizer religion that is foreign to us. It was imposed on us through force, through colonization. Um, you see, I think that a lot of us think that we need to seek salvation or validation. That stems from seeking that in the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. You know, um, the Spaniards are the ones that brought that over from Europe. They knocked over our churches, our temples, and they built their churches. They destroyed our codexes. Like past 500 years, Mexicans don't really know who they are, you know? And like I said, I think the Spaniards are the ones that brought that attitude from Spain over here to the United States. Um, you know, the Spaniards were, they were fighting their own wars for like 800 years. Like, I didn't even know that. And I've been around for like a couple of decades already. And I didn't know that. That the Moors colonized Spain for like 800 years. That had a lot of influence on its culture over there. But the reason why the Spaniards were so aggressive in their expansion was because of the Reconquista. You know, they had to kick out the dark skinned Moors out of their country. The Arabs or whatever. And I think they brought that attitude over here to the New World. Oh, brown, bad. But they brought that attitude from a feeling of inferiority because they were subjugated to the Arabs over there in Spain. I to be honest, I think that we need to work as a collective past the trauma. We have to. I don't really like using college words too much. Like quote unquote decolonize or whatever. Like we need to kind of like look at ourselves honestly. I'm not saying we got to look backwards and say that, oh, mea culpa, or that we lost this, we lost that, or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we move forward and we kind of acknowledge certain things, because a lot of us do have like a peon mentality. Number one, we seem to be like fucking serving a system that fucking hates us. You know what I'm saying? Mexicans are very hardworking people. And you see a lot of us still go to the 9 to 5 stubbornly. We're at the point of like, like they want to. Grand Theft Auto, when the stars go from like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like everybody, like I don't know why we're like we're like the flavor of the year or whatever. Everybody wants a piece of us, and still here we are with that peon mentality, dedicating ourselves to a system that hates us anyways. But you know what? That obedience comes from, because they taught us or my ancestors from a couple hundred years ago to bow down to the white man. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of have to learn true spirituality is not just going to church on Sundays. It's a lifelong affair. It's more than that. You should develop a passion for it, for true spirituality, for let's learn about, quote unquote God for reals. It doesn't mean that you have to like be an atheist all of a sudden or whatever. No, because there is some truth in the lies. Like Lady of Guadalupe. That's probably like one of the handful of Aztec deities that we still got. We just kind of disguised her. Kind of like the way that African Americans, disguised, some of their stuff. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, right? I kind of don't want to touch on that subject too much about what's going on recently. You know what I'm saying? Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because uh, you have a passion in your heart, to how can I say it? To feel justified against going against a whole group of people. Just because we can doesn't mean that we should. All right. Me personally, I think that we still should be friends, or try to be, or try to understand each other. You know, we're always gonna have problems. Just because I'm related to my sister doesn't mean I'm gonna get along with her every fucking day. I probably can't stand her for more than like 12 hours on any given day. So it's a process. Okay, so that's my words of wisdom. Okay, uh, get off the TikTok for a while. If you feel rage or whatever, don't you feel like you're being manipulated? You know what I'm saying? Work on something to better yourself, to better your own station. All right, we got a long way to go, and unfortunately, history is full of coulda, shoulda, and woulda. It's full of tragedies. It's full of events that could have been avoided with a little bit more understanding. All right. So I just wanted to say my piece. All right. This is Johnny Khan, aka Not to Conquer. Peace.